everybody, and happy holidays. It is America's favorite holiday. It is Super Bowl Sunday. Big Blue Confidential is live here with you on Super Bowl Sunday morning. We are getting ready for the big game between the New England Patriots and the Seattle Seahawks. Should be a fantastic matchup. A lot of people saying it might be a boring Super Bowl. It might be a blowout, but I don't see it that way. I think it's going to come down to the wire, going to be a close game. But we're here to talk about it. And for the first time ever on Big Blue Confidential, we have a guest in the room, and you might have seen this guy over the weekend. He's down, or I'm saying down, he's out in California at Super Bowl 60. He's in Radio Row, and he had a viral picture with Patriots linebacker Jack Gibbons. You might have seen it. It's up on the screen now. It's gone viral for all the right reasons. Let's welcome to the room, Mr. Dave Stevens.
Good morning, everybody. I got my energy drink at 6 a.m. out here, and I know the background doesn't show you Super Bowl, but everybody's asleep here at the Airbnb, so I snuck in to come on with you guys for a while. So good morning, Ryan and Scott.
Yeah, listen, we absolutely appreciate you coming on this morning. I know it's early, but hey, it's Super Bowl Sunday. It's like football fans, no matter who you root for, it's like Christmas morning.
Yeah. And Dave, kind of break down for us. What is it like? You know, you say, the Airbnb, everybody, obviously Radio Row this week has been crazy. This is, 12 plus Super Bowl coverages for you. What is the week, kind of timeline look for you once you get there?
Well, I mean, this was Super Bowl 30 for me, and I got in Saturday. You get your credentials. I set up our studio and get everything from Radio Row, which is, every radio, TV station, podcast guys that they now bring in. You're talking thousands of media all in one room, and we were in a much smaller area this year. They really shrunk us down. The league reduced credentials because of the Pro Bowl. It was simultaneous, which we'll touch on later. And, then you start Monday night out of the gate with opening night, and that's where everybody gets to be with the team. They separate the 8 stars in the podium where you go up and you talk to your Drake Mays or your Sam Darnolds, and it's all a scrum. And then the lesser guys are walking around. And the problem with that on opening night is that also includes the non-roster players and the practice squad players. So you're walking around, you're going, number 19, he's not on the roster. And everybody who doesn't know sports is just standing there with a microphone, think they're interviewing the starter or something like that. So, and then organically, it was new to the world, but Ryan knows I get down on my butt out of my wheelchair to do my interviews. For your viewers that don't know, I was born without legs. I get down and get on my butt because when you're competing with all you leggies and a microphone, I've got to do something different. So if you had a guy crawl up to you and yank on your pat leg, you turn and look down, they do it. But the cool thing is somebody tweeted that and it exploded. And I hadn't even been on Twitter in 4 years. I stopped Twitter when Elon Musk bought it. So I had to re-log in, saw that I had 2 followers, and then suddenly, 4.5 million views, and then CBS is sharing it, and FanDuel, and NBC Sports, and then ESPN reaches out. Can we use your footage? And I email them back and I go, you do realize I worked for you for 20 years. So it's been crazy. The people that have come out of the woodwork to say hi. People were stopping me on the streets all week. And a big shout out to all of the other influencers and guys that were coming up to me and following me. And it's been overwhelming to kind of become part of the story of the Super Bowl. I mean, I'm not a huge part of it, but it was enough that the league took notice and everybody took notice. And again, it just says a lot for the disabled community that to have so much positivity. I hadn't had a lot of trolls before, and my sons were battling them back and forth with people just making fun of me or saying horrible things. And
that's the internet for you, right? That's social media.
Yeah. But the rest of the week was team press conferences at team hotels, and you go there and you get availability of the players. Then there's halftime pressers with Bad Bunny. He spoke, nothing controversial. And I'm trying to think. Then you just kind of wind your way down at the end of the week. There's no availability on Friday. The commissioner had a press conference where he handpicked 3 people to ask questions because I don't think they wanted any controversial questions about black coaching situations or any of that stuff. And then now the rest of the weekend is a lot of parties. and it's just amazing to see all of the things that a city can put together. Although here in San Francisco, everything was an hour out of town. You had to go an hour to one team press conference, an hour to another. We had opening night in San Jose. So even though the Super Bowl was allegedly in San Francisco, it was all over the city. And I really am, Ryan and Scott, so glad that it's wrapping up, because I've driven so much and a lot of tolls in this area.
Yeah, I bet you're tired too. But I'm gonna go back to something that you said too about the Super Bowl halftime performer, and it's Bad Bunny, and it's been controversial. He said some things that, you know, this country is so divided. We know that, and I don't want to get into any of the politics of it. But like, I don't know. I don't see what the big deal is every single year with the halftime show, right? You say like half the people's like, oh, we need this, or we don't want that guy, or why don't we have something else? And then the other half of the people are like, oh, this is our culture, this is this and that. It's music to me, right? And I didn't know, like, I knew who Bad Bunny was because I don't live under a rock, but I had never listened to his music because, to be frank, it's not my cup of tea.
It's all in Spanish, so we can't sing along, you know?
Right. Listen, it's always a great thing, in my opinion, to broaden your horizons, I guess you'd say, and listen. I love music. Music is part of my life. I'm constantly listening to something. I'm more of a classic rock and country music guy, but I'm always down to listen to something new that's outside my comfort zone. So I'm actually excited to see Bad Bunny. I mean, I've listened to some of this stuff, and it's catchy. There's a high energy. I think it's kind of
fun guy. He's fun, but I think the league got what they wanted. I mean, he is the number one artist in the world, and sometimes we're narrow-minded when we think we are everything, and we don't realize soccer is bigger than American football. There we go. I had a chance to throw on my Bad Bunny hat during media.
Yeah, that was great.
Availability on Friday, so I was trying to be hip. But yeah, I think the controversy is just given the culture of the nation right now. And in my mind, and I love the league for making that attempt, but I expected something different. We were talking about the 60th anniversary of a Super Bowl, and I expected more of a hodgepodge of stars. If you said, let's get the Rolling Stones and let's get Green Day and let's let them kind of all work together and throw in a country act, maybe, Snoop comes out and does a song, and then Madonna comes out. Like, I expected this big thing. Now, I know he's going to give a great show, and anything would be better than Kendrick Lamar last year, because we all sat in the stands looking at each other,
like,
going, what the heck is going on?
I kind of liked Kendrick Lamar last year. I liked it. I liked the year before. I think it was the year before with Dre and Eminem and 50 Cent and Snoop came out, and that was kind of cool. I liked it because you know what? They're all different kinds of all different genres of music, and people like different things. I still think maybe it gets a little stale when they continue with one genre. I think maybe they should kind of switch it up. I mean, everybody is like, well, put Taylor Swift on. That would be, they'll get many more eyes if they do that. But I listen, I'm looking forward to it. I enjoy it. Again, it's new to me, Bad Bunny. I mean, I downloaded some of his music on Spotify just so I'm a little familiar with it. But hey, I mean, honestly, does anybody really pay attention to halftime anyway that much? Like, I'm not glued to my TV unless it's somebody that I really love and follow. I'm usually going to the bathroom, getting another hot dog or getting refilling my drink. But I mean, I'll pay attention. I kind of like it. And I kind of like that the NFL went with something a little bit different, given, like you said, what's the atmosphere is in our country right now. So it's going to be a little controversial. And you know what? And this is something else I wanted to touch on too. You get that group of people say, well, I'm not going to watch the Super Bowl. Well, you know what? Don't watch it.
Go watch the Puppy Bowl, right?
Go watch something else, right? Because that's the other thing. And that'll get me into what I wanted to talk about before I get into the game here. You always have that group, and I love it because I like to troll. I like to troll these people respectfully. But I like the people that are like, I don't, marked safe from watching the Super Bowl, or I'm not watching. Great. Like, nobody asked you if you're watching the Super Bowl. Like, okay, cool. Like, why do you feel the need to tell everybody that you're not watching the Super Bowl? Like, do you think that gives you clout because you're not watching it? You're so edgy. Like, I don't understand that. I don't know. There was, if you remember, everyone does, like back in like 2020, 2021, there was a bunch of people, I'm never watching the NFL again, blah, 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 whatever.
Yeah.
You know what? Football is football. It's the America's pastime. It's surpassed baseball as America's favorite sport. This is the biggest single day sporting event in the world. I mean, I know soccer is the most popular sport in the world, and the World Cup is the biggest sporting event in the world. But this is one day, and this is one day where the most people watch this sport in the whole country. And like I said, World Cup final is probably blow this out of the water, but that's worldwide, right? But more Americans watch the Super Bowl than any other event during the year, and that's why I said in the start of the show, it's basically a holiday. Now we just need Congress or whoever needs to do it, or the president, to get off their butts and make the day after the Super Bowl a national holiday, which I think next year it falls the day before President's Day, if I'm not mistaken.
That'll become Trump Day next year. So we will probably.
I want to touch base on that, because I mean, Justin makes a good point. You know, he's going to break records tonight, and if you look back at, you know, different Super Bowls, whether it's Kendrick Lamar, you know, controversy brings visibility, right? And, you know, in creating things like this, you know, it's fun, it's engaging. You know, whether, you know, everybody acts like they know the person, like, personally, right? And, you know, really what it comes down to, when, you know, you got celebrities doing Super Bowl, how many people can we get to watch, right? That's really all they really care about. Numbers. How many people? Numbers. That's
bringing in the money, right?
That's what it comes down to. You know, people knew when Kendrick Lamar was going to go on stage. It's like, don't do it. There's going to be a lawsuit. You know, you're going to bring this controversy to us that, you know, then it may show a bad name, cast a bad shadow. You know, but he didn't care, right? Because, you know, the beef, you know, on the streets, as they call it, between him and Drake. I mean, that's what he was looking for.
Right.
You know, and that song that he came out with, I mean, everybody was singing it. Everybody was dancing to it. Yeah. You know,
I liked it. I mean, again, I was kind of half-hearted paying attention because I was worried about stuff in my face, because during the game, I won't eat, because I get too, even if it's not my team, which it hasn't been my team. And
sorry for your losses. Yeah.
I still get wrapped up in it. I mean, I like to get on the DraftKings or the FanDuels, and I save up my big wager of the year for the Super Bowl. So I'm that keeps me engaged. But plus, I just love football. I mean, football is by far and away my favorite of the big four.
Well, I like, you know, I was at that blowout last year, and I've been to a lot in person, and it's not as fun as, to your point, Scott, of sitting at home and being able to do your own thing. You know, there's so many breaks in between. It's you're watching the setup for the halftime, which takes a lot of time and everything like that. So, and you miss all the Super Bowl commercials. And that's another thing I don't like, is now they leak the Super Bowl commercials before they air to, you know, and it's just like, well, that was always the best part of seeing that one commercial that was so outrageous or outlandish. And like the controversy this year is that Pepsi is using a polar bear, which is Coca-Cola's.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, but that's going to be neat to see how those react too. But you know, as long as we get a good game, I think the league will be happy. And the halftime show is going to be more important to the world than it will be to the United States, because he's that bigger artist. But you know, the league also put in a lot of other artists like Charlie Puth to sing pregame, and Green Day, and all these other concerts with Sting and everything. So they tried to balance out the hate with some other kind of things, but the league,
I don't understand it.
They can't be perfect. And as we talked about earlier, the only screw up I think they did this year was adding the Pro Bowl to the same city. Yeah,
that was kind of weird. Let's get one more, because I wanted to talk about that. I told you in the pre-show, before we start breaking the game down, the Super Bowl week, right? Because I tune in. NFL Network is on my TV 24/7 at home during Super Bowl week. I mean, it is normally anyway, but like this week, I watch all the coverage. I love Media Day. I love all the pomp and circumstance that comes with it. Even if it's not the Giants, I still enjoy it, right? Because I know I have friends that if the Giants aren't in it, they're not even paying attention. They don't even care. They're off doing something else today, but to each their own. But I did watch the game on Tuesday night, I think it was. And then I watched the celebrity game last night, which I didn't love it. I mean, there was parts entertaining, but I felt the game was pretty entertaining on Tuesday night, but I don't see why they would do it on a Tuesday night just on YouTube. I mean, was that an experiment? Or what do you hear about that? What do you know?
I think the league was trying to capitalize on people in town, and maybe it would give them more star power later in the weekend events. I don't know the rationale behind it. I mean, kudos for them trying, but I think it was a failure. If you're going to do that, move it back to the Sunday prior. So move it 2 days back earlier. So you've got a few days, but the league limited the media accessibility for the Pro Bowl because they had it at the NFL Experience. So you're talking maybe, I don't even know if they had 1,500 fans that could go in. They only allowed 8 media members because it was televised, and it was just, it fell flat. Excuse me. And we didn't get access to the practices.
Right.
And if you're gonna, and they diluted it a little bit by some of the guys they added at the end. They added George Sanders, they added Joe Flacco. I'm like, those guys were teammates when the season started, and I know what they were doing. They're trying to appeal to old and young.
Yep.
But we couldn't cover them, so we couldn't get interviews with them. We couldn't do anything with that. So I'm hoping if they try to do that next year in Los Angeles, move it to that Sunday prior. Right. We'll all come in a day earlier. It'll be more money for the town and more, hotels and venues and things like that, because the prices go way up. Our media hotel was $299 a night, and then they raise it to $500 and something on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So, they're making their money here, but I think it felt flat. I don't know if they got the viewership numbers that they were expecting, because everyone's like, what? It's Tuesday, the Pro Bowl? And as we know, the Pro Bowl's become diluted anyway. But it's not like when I was a kid, you'd wake up in the morning and they'd be in Honolulu and in pads, and you'd see guys going out for passes, Randy Moss or those guys, and it was fun. Now it's like a battle of the network stars.
Yeah.
And, it's just kind of fun. But it's not a true all-star game. It's not like baseball, basketball, hockey. They still have those traditions. And I don't know, because of contact and injuries and obviously the money situation, they may never go back to that format.
Right. And I think one of the things that Major League Baseball does right is the All-Star game. And people are like, well, they should move the Pro Bowl to the middle of the season. The owners will never buy off on that, by the way, ever. But the money they're paying these guys, there's no shot. I think keep it, like you said, go back. I liked it. I kind of liked it when they did it in Orlando as well. They had the whole thing, the whole competitions in Disney World, and then they went and played the game at the Citrus Bowl.
Yeah,
in Orlando. I kind of like that.
Way when it was the Sunday after the Super Bowl, because you had that one last week, and then the guys from the Super Bowl might show up and talk.
Yeah.
And, it was like, all right, we know we got 6 more months till football, but we got our Pro Bowl game to end it up on a good note. Everybody hugs, everybody loves, we all have a good time, and so I don't know if it's possible to ever go back to that way.
Yeah, I remember as a kid, when the first Super Bowl I remember was the first Cowboys-Steelers Super Bowl. And I remember, that's when I fell in love with football. And then every year after the Super Bowl, I knew I had one more game, one more shot to see my favorite players at the Pro Bowl the week after. And then that was over. It was like, when you're 10 years old and it's, 8:00 at night on Christmas Day, and when it hits you that it's over, and then you have to wait a whole another year for it to come back. So,
and in those days, those guys would play hard because that was a $40,000 check to each winner as opposed to $25,000. So there was a little incentive. Now that's a fine. They don't care. They'll
right.
Pay them,
And then remember Sean Taylor? What's one of my favorite Pro Bowl moments ever? He didn't care that it was no contact. I forget who it was. He laid out. He just did not care, and he just absolutely floored somebody. And I can't remember who it was, but he just didn't care about the no contact thing. He was going to play hard. He only had one speed, and God rest his soul. That kid was a phenomenal player, and it's too bad that his life ended so short. So let's get right back into the actual games today, because that's what everybody really is tuning in to talk about. We have Super Bowl 60 versus the Patriots at the number 2 seed in the AFC versus the Seattle Seahawks, the number 1 overall seed in the NFL. Road to the Super Bowl for the Patriots. They hosted the Chargers at home. It was not a very exciting game. 16-3, Pats won. What I thought was probably the most brutal game, other than the Seahawks 49ers game, was the Pats and the Texans. That game was just brutal to watch. I mean, I only root it's because I live in New England. It was really the only reason I continued watching it. But that was kind of ugly. And then, which I thought was a very exciting game. We had two great, in my opinion, two great championship games. We had a weather game in Denver, and it was what was it? 10-7, 10-7,
10-7.
Yeah. And the weather game was good. I mean, I would have liked to have seen what would have happened if Bo Nix had been able to play.
Yeah.
I still think the Pats would have won. I thought the Pats were overall a better team, even though Denver was the 1 seed. The Patriots had a couple of unfortunate losses early in the year, one to the Raiders, which basically the Raiders helped the Broncos out, which is weird, right? By beating the Patriots early in the year, the Broncos got the number 1 seed. But, and then you go over to Seattle. I mean, they had the first round bye, an easy time with the 49ers. I mean, listen, the 49ers can cry about injuries. We talked about this ad nauseum on the show about teams crying about injuries. And I said it before, I'll say it again. Tom Brady had the best line ever when a reporter asked him, how do you feel about this? This person's hurt, that person's hurt. And Brady said, listen, it's the playoffs. It's the AFC Championship. Everybody's hurt. Yeah. Everybody's injured. So you can't make excuses, right? And they beat an overrated Eagles team barely, which I was very thankful for. Thank you, 49ers. But they were over their heads with the Seattle Seahawks. And then what I thought was also a tremendous game, the Rams and the Seahawks was a very good game. So what were your thoughts on both of those games, Dave?
Well, I'm being a closet Vikings fan. I've been sad but happy to watch Sam Darnold's journey. He would have looked good in a Viking uniform, trying to do what he's doing this year. And he's really it's that underdog mentality that makes me think that this is Seattle's year. But there's also the part of me. And again, I worked at ESPN for 20 years. I hated how much we covered those Patriots. It was always Tom Brady this and Bill Belichick that. And as much as I hated them, I love Mike Vrabel. I love what he's done as a head coach in Tennessee and went coming up back and giving that. It's a Vrabel type of a team, not a Bill Belichick type. So I'm on board with him, and it would be nice to start a new dynasty where we forget about the past and start over. But I think, to your point earlier, I think it's going to be a close game. I don't think we're going to have a blowout like we did last year with Philadelphia. And, it's a matter of defense. Who's going to have the better defense? Because I just read that the Patriots lost a defensive tackle this week. So they're down, to your point, another injury. So it's going to be contrasting to see. I don't want another 10-7, 10-7 game type thing like that. But both sides have a lot of great offensive weapons. Diggs deserves a Super Bowl. He's bounced around a little bit. And, it'd be nice to see him get one for New England. So it's a win-win for everybody. I think America loves to hate the Patriots. So that's the downfall of that. They've kind of become the Cowboys of this era. So no matter what. And Seattle, God love them. They were 1 yard away from a Super Bowl against the Patriots, for that play call mistake. So it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. I really hope it comes down. I'd like an overtime. I think it would be cool to see, something that we don't get very often, especially with all the playoffs, how close they were in most of those games where everything was almost down to the wire every week with a couple of exceptions of the Texans and things like that. But yeah, I think this is going to be a really good Super Bowl game. And I think somebody that we don't know is going to come out as MVP because there are so many different weapons that they have where a receiver may have had 600-700 yards, but I think somebody is going to explode. I'd like to see a defensive MVP. I don't think we've had a defensive MVP in decades. Yeah. And that would be nice to see something like that.
I'm gonna hold off on my MVP and my prediction until the end of the show, but I think you're right. I think I think it's going to be a one-score game. I'm hoping it's close. I love the overtime games. Although next time I get to see Travis Kelce, by the way, I'm going to tell him he owes me $4,000 because actually Andy Reid. It was Andy Reid. I blame Andy Reid because that Super Bowl when they beat Philly or San Francisco in overtime, all I needed for $4,000 was Kelce to catch a touchdown pass. And overtime they were inside the 5. I'm like, this is Travis Kelce time. This is it. And we know how that worked out. But let's talk about the head coach. Let's talk about matchups here. Head coaches, obviously, Vrabel versus McDonald. Vrabel, congrats to him. He was the NFL Coach of the Year, which obviously well-deserved. I don't think there was anybody else who deserved it more than him. I mean, you could have made a case for a couple other guys, but at the end of the day, Vrabel did one hell of a job going from basically what they have, the number 3 overall pick last year, and now here they are, a chance to win the Super Bowl, and as a Giant fan, that gives me so much hope that we can just change the culture, change the way you feel, and then here you go. You're in the Super Bowl, and I don't want to hear about anybody saying about, oh, they had the weakest schedule. It's not college football. You don't pick your out of conference schedule. You don't pick your own, other than your division. You don't pick your opponents, right? It goes by division. It's a rotation plus, and I think it goes by you play, but like teams with similar records that you had last year. There's a couple games, but mostly it's your division, and then whatever other division you're playing, your whole division plays that, right? Like this year,
they throw in the international games and they smatter those in,
It's crazy. So that's a weak argument to me that, yeah, their schedule was kind of weak, but it's not for any fault of the Patriots. They went out, you have to play who's on your schedule. They went out and they did what they were supposed to do, and here we are. But yeah, Vrabel, coach of the year, McDonald's, nice coach, second year. I mean, he's a great story too, right? Because he took them, I think they were 10-7 last year. And now here he is having them in the Super Bowl. They were the most dominant team, quietly the most dominant team in the league for the entire season. And no one really talked about it until the end of the season.
I think people were afraid to talk about it, because you had, a matchup. Look at like how Brady was in his second year, and then going to the Super Bowl. It's very similar, mirroring Drake May's journey this year, going to the Super Bowl. He's put up more yardage than Tom Brady, in his official second year. So I think overall, they didn't want to talk about it because they knew what was coming.
Yeah, I mean, I think sorry, hold on. Someone called me in the middle of this.
Put your phone on do not disturb.
I could have. Jesus. God. So unprofessional.
Rookie mistake.
Real quick, I wanted to tell my TikTok viewers that you might not hear all the audio, guys, because I do have a guest today. So if you see me just staring into space, I promise you I'm not vapor locking. I have a guest that you cannot hear. We're figuring out how to get the StreamYard onto TikTok so soon, but just bear with me, guys, because we are getting into the nuts and bolts of the game. So let's go to offenses, because this is where I really think when we talked about defenses, because yes, both teams have great defenses. But the offenses, the keys on offense, I think, are the difference in the game, right? The Patriots had the third ranked offense at almost 29 points a game, 380 yards per game. Seahawks are ranked 8th, almost the same points. I think they're like a half a point difference, and they're 351 a game. But there's stars on both sides of the ball, right? You got obviously Drake May, who was 1 vote away from winning the MVP. He lost to Stafford, who obviously that was my pick for MVP, but I would not have been mad had Drake May won, because I watched May in person this year and he was phenomenal.
It was probably the same voters that didn't put Belichick and Kraft in the Hall of Fame, right?
Well, actually, you know what? It's funny because I have some really close friends who are huge Buffalo Bills fans, and that one vote, the one vote that Josh Allen got, basically kept Drake May from being the MVP. So Buffalo Bill fans they got nothing to cheer about today, but they're hanging their hat on the fact that Josh Allen did affect the outcome of the MVP voting, and Drake May didn't get it, which he was absolutely worthy. Again, I would not have been mad if he had won it.
They can cheer for Stephon Diggs, right?
Yeah, there you go. I don't know if they will. They're probably heavy rooting in the bars in Buffalo today. There's probably heavy Seahawks nation out there. They're the extended 12th man out there, if you would. But yeah, obviously you have the offensive player of the year with Smith and Njigba, who's, I mean, between him and Puka Nacua, I mean, when they were going at it in the NFC Championship, that's must-watch TV right there. Those 2 phenomenal wide receivers, and I had people yelling at me because I said they're far and away the 2 best receivers in the league, and I had a litany of other players or people tell me who else is better than them, but I disagree wholeheartedly, because you'd be hard-pressed to prove to me that there's 2 better guys catching the football than those 2 guys. Then you have a 1,000-yard rusher with Kenny Walker. You got Cooper Kupp. So there's so many stars. I also I like I hate when I do this.
Now you're vapor locked.
Hunter Henry. Yeah, I like the tight end for the Patriots. So I do think there is at least one star on both sides of the football for both teams. So I like the two offenses matching up against these two defenses, right? The two defenses, obviously the Seahawks number one defense in the league. Their run stopping defense is phenomenal. I mean, if I'm the Patriots, you got to do something. I feel like today you might see a lot of jumbo packages from the Patriots because they like to run those. Just giving the ball to one of their two-headed running backs. I mean, I think that's the matchup you have to watch. And their defense versus the Patriots run game, I think that will be the deciding factor.
You're going to have to, I mean, I think we talk about the players, but it's going to come down to the coaching because you've got 22 weeks of film to watch on both teams. So you're going to see everything that they've thrown out there. So during the 2 week of preparation, they're going to have to change up things and take different looks at defenses. They're going to have to do different things on offense, maybe some screens, some tight end things that to get involved. But they're going to have to come up with some surprises for both sides. So that's the thing. Are the Patriots defensively prepared for what Seattle might have with their running back and do things differently? If you get the Patriots side, are you going to get Hunter Henry involved right away? Or are you going to try to just grind the ball down the throat, wear down that defense? Then Drake May can, move in the pocket and do what he does best.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to come down to coaching. And like I said, somebody unexpected that somebody put a bet on somewhere on FanDuel is going to come out as an MVP. You never know. And you get those guys that have that one Super Bowl game and then walk away and never do anything again. Like I think the most yards rushing was a Washington Redskins running back in the Super Bowl, and he just kind of fell off.
Timmy Smith, I think was his name.
Fell off the face of the earth after that Super Bowl. So you just never know. You get that ring. I guess that's all that matters. You got the ring, right, to show for
it. I think Butte might be that guy for the Pats, or Boba for the Seahawks. Yeah. That's I think 10 gets you 150 right now with Boba for anytime touchdown. So we'll see. You made some great points that I was going to talk about later on, but we'll talk about it now since you brought it up. The assistant coaches, Aiden Durdick from the Seahawks, the defensive coordinator, he's from the UK, I did not know that, which I think is pretty cool. But he's got them playing great. He likes to do like a rotation, and he disguises a lot of his coverages and a lot of his pass rushes, his blitzes. So that's going to be huge for Drake May to recognize different formations on the defense and making adjustments on the fly there. But I think if the Patriots are going to win, it's going to be because of Josh McDaniel. And he is so underrated because everyone goes back to he was failed as a head coach as the Broncos, because some guys are never made. Not everybody can be a Bill Belichick, right? You come from an assistant coach and you become one of the greatest coaches of all time. But Josh McDaniel, he's been there. He's been in the trenches. He's won the battles. He's beaten great teams in the Super Bowl and great defenses, and he knows what he's doing. He has that veteran presence as an assistant coach, and I feel like that is the key for the Patriots. Can he come up with a good enough game plan to mitigate what Seattle does on defense because they have a ton of speed on defense, a ton of speed, and their secondary is phenomenal, but they get to the quarterback. So Drake May being able to extend, not just read defense before the snap, but also once he does and he feels that pressure, being able to extend plays with his feet and, either getting the ball downfield or running the ball. Because we saw what he did against Denver on that last play to lock away the AFC Championship game when he made that phenomenal run, the 10-yard run to get the first down and seal the game for them. So that is the key for me, the matchup between the Pats offense and the Seahawks defense. And then the other way, Darnold versus the Patriots defense. I feel like for Sam Darnold, he has to be smart, right? Be smart. Don't make throws into coverage, like things that he would normally do, which good for him because everyone knows the bugaboo with Darnold in the past has been he can't win big games. He makes mistakes. This year, he's kind of put that to rest so far. This is different. This is the Super Bowl.
Well, they don't want to repeat a Malcolm Butler, right? Yeah. And the interception, know. And I think with the Pats and the Seahawks, a lot of people are talking about the Pats of a 10-7. They got nothing. No, the Patriots have always been known to run the clock. They've always been known to try to control the game on the ground, not in the air. And I think that's going to be the challenge with them with the Seahawks, Darnold put up 300 and something yards last game. And, they are so versatile on the ground. JSN put up 153 receiving yards, which is ridiculous.
Yep.
And, then you got, you run games, right? You got Kenneth Walker, he's averaging over 100 receiving and rushing yards over the last 5 games. Yep. He's a key player, but you talked about a lot of the, I guess, sleeping giants would be Bobo, right? Yeah. He is a red zone player. He scored twice in the last 5 games, averaging a little over 10 yards. He is a threat to the Patriots defense.
Absolutely. I agree. I completely agree with that. But here, my thing is that the bread and butter for the Seahawks is running the ball, run the ball, right? The Patriots struggle stopping the run up the middle. They're kind of soft in the middle, kind of like me, and they have a hard time stopping the run. I think they're going to have to really stack the box to stop that. But what happens when you start running the ball effectively, what does that do? That opens up the play action stuff, and that's going to be the key, right? For the Seahawks is to be effective with the play action, and for the Patriots defensively, make Sam Darnold stay in the pocket, make him make plays downfield, make him throw the ball downfield, right, and not off the play action. Take away the play action. That's the key for the defense of the Patriots. I think if they can stop the play action, then the Patriots will win this football game.
And to your point, Scott,
but
you talking about McDonald on the other side, former head coach that failed. Seattle's kind of in the same situation. I had a long talk with Leslie Frazier, who was a head coach for the Minnesota Vikings, and that didn't work out. He won a Super Bowl with the Bears on that great 85 Bears team. And we talked about, well, what does an assistant head coach do? And he talked about his job is to work on those game plans and to be in those meetings and check out all of those things. And Leslie is a really good defensive mind. And so I think, he again is going to look at to Ryan's point of as far as, getting that, what are they going to see from Drake May? Is he, just like Sam Darnold, neither one of them has played under this kind of pressure before. Right. Billions and billions. It's a whole different thing. Yes, they try to go, it's just like another day at the office, but the reality is it's not. Mm-hmm. When you walk on that field and those jets fly over the stadium and everybody's there and thousands of fans have their cell phones on with the lights and everything's flickering and all the pomp and circumstance, that we're going to see if Sam Darnold collapses under that pressure, then the Patriots might just roll. I don't think it's weird that Seattle is such a favorite in this thing. I mean, given the matchups, it's like, I don't think you can just say that right out. I mean, I really think that a Mike Vrabel coach team is a well-balanced team on both sides of the ball. He has shown that as a head coach in all of the places. And, all the guys I talked to, even Jack Gibbons down on our butts, we talked about, how big this was going to be in the preparation for that. And those role players are really going to have to step in. Yeah, to his point, they've collectively got to step it up. So if somebody goes down or somebody misses a play or they've got to come right back, pick up that teammate and get back out there, barring a defensive injury or an offensive injury or something like that.
Yeah, I think, too, what you have to look at is a lot of times these close games or tight games come down to a huge special teams play. And you look at the special teams for both of these teams, they're both very good. The Patriots are more consistent on the special teams, whereas the Seahawks are way more explosive. I think they both were tied with special teams touchdowns or kickoffs and punts return. I think they both had 4 or 5. But yeah, I mean, the special teams, punt returns, kick returns will be huge. They both have good kickers. Obviously, Borregales is a rookie. I actually had a chance to meet him. I met him at the Big E of all places this year. Nice kid, but he's clutch. He's made big kicks already for them this year, and he's good from distance. He's good. I think he's either 5 for 5 or 4 for 4 from over 50 plus yards. And there'll be good weather today. We don't have to worry about kicking in the snow.
Yeah.
Well, shout out to Ryan Landry and their kicker, Adam Vinatieri. They did get somebody in the Hall of Fame. At least somebody from a Patriots got into the Hall of Fame, And
absolutely.
It's a kicker.
Yeah. I love the kicker getting into the Hall of Fame. But yeah, I still think the special teams could play a huge role. Obviously, Shaheed is I mean, how good is it for that dude? Went from playing in New Orleans at the beginning of the year, gets traded to the Seahawks. Basically, the game was over when he returned that opening kickoff against San Francisco for a touchdown. I mean, that put the ice on the game right away. And that was a huge moment for him. And he could play a big role today. When was the last time we had a kickoff? Was it the Bears and the Colts? I think was the last time we had to open.
Their loss, the Bears did right to open.
Yeah, and then they ended up not doing anything the rest of the way.
Yeah.
Well, they
in the rain.
The Seahawks just had one in the playoffs.
Well, no, I mean in the Super Bowl. I don't think we've had a opening kickoff return for a touchdown since that Super Bowl.
I think the biggest thing that is kind of overlooked is these quarterbacks are spreading the ball like nobody else, right? It's very unpredictable. You have some names like Kyle Williams, Bobo. Obviously Kenneth Walker and JSN are the go-tos for the Seahawks, but you have some of these second and third string players they're throwing in, and they're getting the ball, they're getting plays done, they're inside the red zone. Even in just moving the chain just a little bit to get that first down, there's up and coming players that they're feeding the ball to that they're not really talking about. And I think, those players deserve credit because that first down, can be your setup for that field goal winning game kick, So I think this game, just like a lot of the playoff games, we're going to be looking at some volatile plays, and I think both teams, this matchup is going to be unparalleled. I think if the Seahawks, do the pressure like they have throughout the playoffs with other teams, the Patriots are going to be forced to not just run the ball, but throw it in the air to players that may not be covered, because you got Diggs that he hasn't really been putting up numbers because he's been over covered, right. So that's where you get the Booty or Bout, or however you want to say his name.
I think it's Boutte.
Boutte. And then you
got a lot of jokes in there, guys. There's a lot of jokes in there.
But yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Ryan. I mean, it's always, back to what Dave said. Sometimes it's that one guy who you don't ever hear his name called very often, who could step up and be huge and win the Super Bowl for you. But
Scott, to your point, if you lose your starting center in the game, that messes up the whole dynamic.
Absolutely.
You lose a guard or a tackle or something like that. Or as we've seen, you lose a safety and you're down to your second or third string. They're just going to pick on him.
Right.
They're going to throw, that guy is weak, he's hurt, we're going to continue. And we saw that happen time after time.
But most recently, I feel like that's what happened to Buffalo in Denver. They lost their center in the second quarter of that game. They had some injuries in the secondary. And again, injuries aren't an excuse. And I feel like Josh Allen would never make that as an excuse. But you have to, when the quarterback loses his center, that's tough. He tried to do what he does, Josh Allen, and but it wasn't enough. He didn't have enough help. And when you have injuries to key players like that, and you won't think, an offensive lineman or a center,
they're just replacing your star receiver. There's a reason they're starting.
Exactly. And it messes up your rhythm 100%. So I want to ask you one thing, and I'll give you mine first. The matchup in this game that you're looking forward to most. Mine is JSN versus Christian Gonzalez. I think that when they do match up, because I think the Seahawks will try to get JSN away from him as much, and I think Vrabel will have Gonzalez as much on JSN as much as possible. What are you looking for one matchup in this game, Dave?
I'm looking at, and you brought it up earlier, so you stole it. Stephon Diggs. I want to see. I think he wants big plays. I think he'd like to maybe be the Stephon Diggs from 4 or 5 years ago. I just don't know if they're going to move him around, and that will change the matchups in that. But I think he's, if I had to pick somebody that I would want to go and think of as the MVP possible potential of all of the possibilities, I think Stephon Diggs really wants to prove something, really has that, is he on the tail end of his career, or can he, pull that out? Because to your point, he's been overcovered. But maybe they can match up, do those kind of things, and put in some, screen passes or get him moving in motion or something that will get him involved early. Then they'll, establish the running game. If they can get that passing game going and get, a couple of first downs, run the ball, run out the clock, get that kicker out there, kick a couple of field goals. Don't do the mistakes that we've seen teams do,
Right.
the Detroits, that we got to go for it on fourth down 4 or 5 times and take those points off the board. In a matchup like this, you're going to need every point, every safety. Hell, you'd even take a couple of rouges from the Canadian Football League as long as you put points on the board.
Exactly. And I feel like a lot of times, in the military, we called when you do too much or you try to do too much in a situation like that, we call it you see Elvis, right? And I feel like a lot of coaches might get into that, or players might do something they wouldn't normally do. And I'm a coach. I mean, I'm not a professional football coach, but coaching is coaching, right? And when my kids are in a big game, I try to tell them, don't do anything that you wouldn't normally do. Like, play the way you play, because you got here because of the way you play. Let's just keep doing that. You don't need to do anything more than you normally would. Like, don't try to make that extra play. Or if you see it a lot where guys are trying to get that extra yard, and you
like
got
Josh Allen. Like, that was Josh Allen in a party. I'm going to run. And then boom, you fumble. You're doing things you don't normally do. And to your point, why are you getting out of your game? He got out of his game, and that's really what cost the Bills.
Absolutely. That I mean, yeah, it went to overtime and they came back, but that play right before the half, when there was like 26 seconds left, and they tried to go downfield and try to get some more points when they were down 7, instead of just taking a knee, going to half. Josh Allen runs the football, they fumble it, Denver recovers, field goal, and then they're down 10. That was huge.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I'm talking about. That was their, hey, look, it's Elvis, right? Or you go back to, the only person that didn't affect ever was Joe Montana with the, hey, is that John Candy in the stands? The Super Bowl against the Bengals there.
Yeah.
That was good stuff. But we're getting a little long in the tooth here. Let's talk about keys to the game here. These are the official Big Blue Confidential keys to victory for the Patriots. Drake May making plays with his feet and extending plays. We talked about that earlier, right? Feel the rush, feel the Seahawks pressure, find a seam, get to that place. If you can't find anybody open, don't throw the football into coverage. Either get down or get as many yards as you can. Use your feet, like I said, extending those plays. That's a huge thing. Protecting the football. Obviously, in NFL, you don't turn the football over 9 times out of 10, you're going to win the game. And then slowing the run, which limits the play action pass. Force Darnold to make plays under pressure, things I've already talked about. And then the field position battle. Win that field position battle, right? Play strong defense. Pats have excellent red zone defense. And I didn't know this until I looked it up. The Seahawks are one of the worst rated teams in the red zone. Sam Darnold specifically in the red zone, his touchdown percentage is very, very, one of the lowest. He's like 28th or 29th in the league in the red zone offense. So the Pats are very good at limiting teams to field goals in the red zone. That's going to be huge for them if they want to win this football game. For the Seahawks, force May into 3rd and longs, right? Make him make plays downfield when he has to. No turnovers for Darnold, right? You want him to play smart football and control the game with Walker in your play action passes. So now it's time for our predictions. I'm really interested to hear what you have to say, Dave. So we'll start with you. What is your prediction for the final score? And then give up who your MVP is going to be.
All right. As much as I hate to go against Ryan and his Patriots, I feel like this could be 41-38-ish for Seattle.
Okay.
I think the teams are going to get tired, and that's going to help the offenses in the second half, just because it could be like, 14-14 at the half, and then just watch everything explode. It depends on if they make their adjustments and things like that. And as like I said, I was hoping Stephon Diggs would be MVP for the Patriots, but if either one of those quarterbacks has a huge game, it'll be, Sam Darnold is he's struggled. He's been a journeyman, and look, so he's MVP. Or Drake May, who should have been MVP. I'd rather take this MVP of the Super Bowl over the MVP of the regular season anyway, because they're going to remember that.
Absolutely.
So like we've talked about, it's a win-win situation. It's almost impossible to say who is going to shine the brightest. Hopefully the best beneficiary of everybody is the fans. We get a good, solid game. And then everybody can tape themselves with their reactions and put it on YouTube and TikTok and go, those ones they pretend to keep TVs or stage all that stuff. But
yes, absolutely. That always is staged. Like someone standing there watching, like, who's recording that? Come on.
We didn't have that yesterday in the veterans game. We didn't have any of that.
No, yeah. Hey, let's before we get to Ryan's prediction, talk to us about the disabled American veterans game that you played in yesterday.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was the DAV Bowl, which I wanted an E on it, so it was the Dave Bowl. But no, we've resurrected what we used to have as a Wounded Warrior amputee football game. We started again with the help of disabled American veterans and BJ Ganem. Such a great event. We had Nate Boyer, we had Spencer Tillman, we had Kenny Mayne, myself, all kinds of people. And I got traded before the game. I was supposed to be on the heroes team with the veterans, but apparently some snafuing and scheduling left the legends team without enough. And because I was a Dallas Cowboy for one day, I got traded to the legends team, which we lost. But it was great. Other than me, they had a nice play where they were going to have a disabled veteran in a wheelchair. They're going to wheel her for a touchdown, but no one told me that.
Not on my watch, baby.
If you go to my Facebook or anything, you'll see I'm on my butt, running the ground. I grab onto the wheelchair, and they literally are dragging me 5 yards down the field as I'm holding I think I broke my thumb. My hand is all messed up.
You got speed, though, man. I saw that. You came across, and you had speed down the line.
Hey, if you're not going to block me, I'm going to, But it was great. And again, the most important thing, it's for the veterans. And as you guys know, and thank you for your service. My dad was a World War II veteran, so that's why it's near and dear to me is the camaraderie. It's the fellowship. It's those things that you guys miss from your units. And it was just beautiful to see these guys missing arms and legs and all of those things that you guys, the traumatic things that you guys have gone through with the disabled American veterans of America. It's amazing what they do. They impact over 1 million veterans each year, helping them to get the medical benefits, helping them to get jobs, helping all those things that we do at, in Easter Seals and Veterans Rally Point, because we forget about our heroes. And I think it's events like this that draw out the fans, that they can show support and their admiration for what you guys have done and those things that you guys have done for our freedom. But more importantly, to raise that money to help you guys get the mental health benefits that you need and therapies and all those kind of things that are so important to key the successes, to overcome the PTSDs, to avoid suicides, which is such a tragic story in the veteran community. So we're going to be bigger and better. We had a good turnout. We had the referee from Fox who's on there, Mike. I forget Mike's name. He's the old official.
Mike Freyer.
Yeah. Mike was out there, and he was like, man, I've never seen a guy run as fast as you. And I'm like, I'm 60 years old, so I'm not that fast. But he said next year in LA, they want Fox to televise this game.
Hey, let's go.
And I really want to get Ryan. I've told this for a couple of years. I really want to bring Ryan, if we can find a budget somehow, to get him out to the Super Bowl next year with me, because there's so many amazing veteran stories that are going on. We had the wheelchair football teams from all over. New England was here. We had representation from the New England Patriots wheelchair football team. So there's a lot of great things that veterans can get involved with. And this game, I said it was my last game, but after playing in it, I'm going to pull a Phillip Rivers, and I might come back for one more.
Yes.
But again, such a great cause, what DAV does, and all the veterans organizations that really spearhead keeping people happy, keeping them mentally happy. I think that's the biggest thing. I think that the veterans is, we can talk about, we'll work on you may have a wound, but the internal wounds, the mental wounds that you guys suffer through so much, that you guys can go through. I think that's what we need to address. And so, I am so sore this morning. You know, 5 a.m. and go, I gotta, I'm trying to move my butt around here on the ground. And it's a young man's game. It really is.
Yeah. And listen, we, both of us being veterans and retired, it means a lot to us when we see, these organizations that are recognizing these men and women that put everything on the line in defense of this country, to stand up for that flag, to stand in front of that flag. And it's great to see them be recognized, because you are exactly right. They don't get enough for what they do for us and what they do for this country. Sometimes they get cast off to the side, and, I don't want to get political about it, but it bothers me sometimes when I see the way that some of our veterans, period, get treated, and the things that they don't receive, because everyone thinks it's a free ride when you join the service, and it's not, because you also said something that Ryan and I are very familiar with. It's the invisible wounds, the ones you don't see, right?
Yeah.
You have guys missing arms, missing legs, they have scars on their face or wherever from something that happened, but it's the ones here when they see their buddies exploded or they see their buddy next to them be killed. And the veterans that came before us who paved the way for us, they didn't have these things, right? And that's why Ryan and I have made it part of our mission in life is to keep that going, is to keep what they did going plus one, right? To leave it better than you found it, and to keep pushing forward what we do for them as far as the mental health and their physical health. And I know that he works tirelessly, and I know you have a hand in it as well to get these people. And him and I work with him sometimes, but I'm involved in different organizations that help veterans, and it's tremendous. And I love the support, and I wish we can get it out there more. And hopefully next year they'll be able to televise that game to get more awareness. So
And
thank
Scott,
you, Dave, for that. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
it's great. And to your point, like I said, my dad was a World War II veteran. And in those days, you come home from your duty in Vietnam or that, and you shut up. You're not supposed to address what you you wouldn't address it. And so think of all those years that all those veterans that they tight-lipped and they didn't talk about it. And it's almost not macho enough. If you're supposed to be a fighter for your country, you come home and that's it. And they don't bring the things that you guys see that we don't. We can't be in your shoes or your boots to see that and experience it. And I think we need to embrace that more with the treatment for the brain, get more therapy, get more, accessible things for these families, for the wives, that have to deal with what the husbands are going through, how do the wives, spouses handle it, how are they supposed to go through it,
because they serve too in a capacity that the families serve as well. And, we make jokes about it in the service, but really at the end of the day, your wife is a huge part of your service. So when you retire, she retires too. I mean, she doesn't have your rank, because a lot of the women take that a little too far, but you're absolutely right. The women, the wives, the husbands, the children, the families in general, they need help too.
And if you read this amazing book by Ryan Landry, you can see some of those struggles that you overcome and the battles that you can overcome. Again, it's very vulnerable. It's very intimate to share those details, because they'll say, well, you're a wuss. Just keep your emotions inside. You're not supposed to cry. You're not supposed to feel. You're not supposed to hurt. And I think if we could all accept that and realize that, men are vulnerable and we cry and we hurt and we need those ways to get those out. How do I get out my emotions? I can't take them out in violence. I can't take them out in alcohol or drugs. So what am I going to do to not commit suicide? Because Ryan's had people in his units. There are so many of my friends in the veterans world that lose somebody every day to suicide, that you think one day they're good, the next day they put a bullet in their head. Like, why? What causes that? How can we fix that? So those are the things that we really need to work on going forward.
And the work we've done, it's been yeoman's work that everyone's doing, the people that are involved in these organizations that do it, especially Ryan. We've lowered the number from a 22 a day, but one is too many. So we're going to keep banging away at that no matter what. I mean, as long as I have air in my lungs, I will continue to support my fellow veterans and my active duty service members. So thank you for that, and thank you for recognizing and being part of that. So let's get to your prediction.
Yeah. So before we move on to that, I just want to point out the fact that a lot of people that don't realize that Dave is a huge component of advocating for people of all abilities, and him and I work closely together. East Seals Capital Region, and particularly also East Seals Veterans Rally Point in Norwich, Connecticut. And, we bring perspective, right? Dave has perspective, a lifelong journey, his entire life of, speaking to people of all abilities and being able to get insight from, you have these warriors that come back home, and, I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but if you join the service and then you have adversity that you face and a challenge of losing a limb, Dave is advocating around the world, just in, we take it for granted sometimes of the travel on airplanes and everything else. And, Dave is advocating consistently, right, for people of all abilities. And, I want to, just say, if you haven't seen Dave and what he does, start checking him out, because he shines light on what it's like for people of all abilities to be able to do the simplistic things that we take for granted, every single day. And we forget that, people of all abilities, do have these challenges, adversities that we face on a day-to-day basis. So thank you for what you do, Dave. And thanks for the shout out for, the book. This is my camo. Because, I think we pair together well of being able to shed light on that, so let's get back to the Warriors coming into this game.
Here we go.
All right. So I do think it's going to be a close game. I think that the Seahawks, they're going to be looking to, all right, if we cover Diggs, May moves the ball around, Diggs may be open, so I think it's getting in their head for this game. I think we're going to see some big numbers, rushing, receiving. I don't think the Patriots are going to be able to control the clock, like they have in the past. I think that they're going to be pressured to pass. May is going to be pressured to run. He's putting up, in the last 3 games, 50 plus yards average, so I think his legs are going to be moving. I think we're going to see, 30-27 game. I'm not going to, I think it's so volatile right now. Anybody's game, right?
Yep.
People are going to capitalize on each other's mess ups. And, I think that it's going to be down to the wire, and we're going to see a very, very close game. If they're able to control the clock, we're going to see those low 40s overall total games. But I think JSN, Walker, they're going to lean on them heavy. I think you're going to have people like, oh my God, what's his name? Mac on the Patriots. They've been leaning on him for receiving yards. I think the Patriots in May are going to be going to him. I think they're going to be going to Rushmore. I think that, you're going to see those key players that you've seen over the last 5 games, but you're going to also have Kyle Williams, right? A sleeping giant. People haven't heard the name, in the talk for a while. I think he's going to be a chain mover. He may possibly be the throw up alley-oop for a red zone touchdown. You just never know with this Patriots offense. I definitely think with the Seahawks and the Patriots, they're going to the challenge is going to be defense. The challenge is going to be controlling the plays, controlling the clock on both sides. And I think we're going to have a close game. I think it's going to come down to, a field goal or a touchdown.
Okay. I agree with that. And that's great insight from the official Big Blue Confidential prediction for Super Bowl 60, Patriots 27, Seattle Seahawks 24. I feel like Borregales kicks a field goal with about 30 some seconds left, and Seattle gets the football back, and they just ran out of time. They spend all their timeouts trying to stop the Patriots, trying to leave themselves some time, and the Patriots make a stop late to keep them out of field goal range. The Patriots will win, and I do believe that Drake May will be the Super Bowl MVP. Now, as for my rooting interests, I have a lot of, being a diehard Patriots, Giant fan my whole entire life.
We got a new one
from New Jersey. I grew up Giants, and I've lived in New England since 1991. I've lived here through the dynasty. I don't, unlike a lot of my Giant fans who are still back home in New York, they hate the Patriots, everything Boston. And I frankly, I don't hate the Patriots. People say, well, you root for Seattle because that tarnishes the Giants' legacy. No, it doesn't. This isn't the same team. This is a new team, right? This isn't Brady. This isn't Belichick.
Yeah.
If the Patriots win another Super Bowl, that makes it even better that we beat them twice in the Super Bowl, right? We kept them from winning 2 more rings. So I don't have a rooting interest per se. I want to see a great game. My rooting interest is strictly my 5-leg parlay.
Well, so let me ask you this, Scott. I'll give you a rooted interest. Drake May goes down with injury in the first quarter. Tommy DeVito comes in to lead the Patriots to a victory. You have a Giants quarterback that wins a Super Bowl. Does that make you happy?
Absolutely not. Listen, if any of first of all, let me get a shout out to my boys and my family in J18, my J18 van people. Those are my people. And listen, I know who they're rooting for, but listen, I know there are some of them that are DeVito people, I was not.
Oh, I talked to him. He was so genuinely nice, but
He seemed like a great guy.
he was so happy to go from that market in New York to anonymity in New England. He really was.
Listen, he had every. I don't know. I don't want to say. The people that were like jumping on the DeVito bandwagon were the people that I'm not huge fans of. Let's leave it at that, right? He brought out the side of our fan base that I'm not a huge fan of. But
Forget about it.
Yeah, being a Jersey guy, he's a North Jersey guy. I'm a Central Jersey guy, which people say that doesn't even exist. But whatever. I'm a Jersey Shore guy, and he's the kind of guy that we wanted out of our town at the end of the summer. So there you go. That's how I feel. But I will say, if he does go ahead, come in, and even if the Patriots win, sure, I'll be happy for him. I'm happy for anybody that wins the Super Bowl. That you work your entire life for something. I love to see people succeed, whether I like them or not. I like to see people that work hard succeed and reach the pinnacle of what their profession is. So good for him. Good for whoever wins. I'm rooting for my parlay. If my parlay hits, I'll be the happiest guy in the room. So before we leave I want to just briefly talk about something that has been part of the news all week long, and the last 2 weeks, obviously. So let's talk about first, congratulate the Professional Football Hall of Fame class of 2026. Drew Brees, obviously well-deserved. The guy was a legend. Roger Craig, who I think this is way overdue.
Well overdue.
Way overdue. Larry Fitzgerald, who's one of my favorite players of all time. One of the nicest people you meet. I don't know if you've ever had the opportunity to meet
many times. I used to watch him as a ball boy in Minnesota. He was a ball
phenomenal.
boy.
Yeah, my son is a Cardinals fan, only because like my son's first introduction to pro football, like most kids today's age he's 21 now, but he grew up in the Madden era, right? Playing video games. So his first foray into NFL was playing that Madden year. I think it was 2008 or 2009 when it was Larry Fitzgerald and Troy Polamalu on the cover, the only cover that was dual, I think. And so he just adopted the Cardinals, and that was his favorite player ever. So I'm happy for him. Luke Kuechly, I don't have a problem with him being in the Hall of Fame because obviously he's worthy, but I'll get to that in a second. And then obviously everybody's favorite in here anyway, Adam Vinatieri, the catalyst. You can say Brady all you want. Adam Vinatieri is a catalyst for a lot of those Patriots Super Bowls. So well-deserved. Luke Kuechly, worthy of the Hall of Fame, but the fact that he got in before Eli Manning and Bill Belichick is ridiculous to me. But that's another thing. So what are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on first Bill Belichick? And do you think that the reasons that they were given, which I think were excuses to cover up the real story, what do you think about Coach Belichick not getting in on first ballot?
I think the key to that were those that wouldn't talk about it. So those that had votes like a Tony Dungy, who is very religious and has high morals, that kind of told me how that voting went for them. And I think they just, yes, they're going to get in, but I think they wanted to just slap them both in the face for a time because that's how the league was. Again, everyone hated the Patriots during those years except for New England fans.
Yeah.
And you have Deflategate, you have taking videos, you have a gruff person that is just not embraced by the media like other coaches are. Right. And I think, they won't do it. It's just like when you did the Hall of Fame ballot for Derek Jeter. Who was the one guy that didn't vote? Did we ever find out about that?
Red Sox. He was a Red Sox Boston writer.
And we'll find out maybe eventually. Are they going to be embarrassed or, will they keep it secret or will this change how the voting is done?
Right.
Because again, even those haters of Bill Belichick, and there were many of them along the way, all came out and said it's a travesty. And it is. It was maybe they just didn't want three Patriots on at the same time. I would have put Belichick over Kraft. Because again,
100%.
Owners just own.
Right.
They're not out there. They make decisions. But it's wrong. I think next year they'll get it, but it'll be interesting to see if Belichick gets it, how he'll embrace it next year.
Do you think he just gives them the big FU next year? If they say, yeah, your congratulations, he's like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
That would not surprise me. Because one of my TikTokers that is watching, and thank you, they said the reason why he didn't get in, and I didn't even think about this until now because I was just so angry about it. was that he was just mean to the press. He didn't give them anything, and he was kind of nasty to them all the time. But you know what? So what? That was his personality. You know what you were getting. When you walked into a press conference with Bill Belichick, you know what you were getting. So if you want to sit there and you want to ask dumb questions, you know what's going to happen. And he treated everybody exactly the same. The only time I've ever seen Bill Belichick smile was when he was on the sidelines of a lacrosse game that I went to at Stadium. So,
and Tom Brady's roast.
And Brady's roast.
Yeah.
I think that's the first time I ever saw him smile.
And before he became a college coach in that off time, he's gone on shows and he kind of has a personality and fun.
He's like dry. He's actually funny. He's got that dry humor, and
if you talk to him about the history of the NFL, he'll be so cool to you because he is an encyclopedia of the coaches and everything, but he doesn't want anyone to know his personal life other than he's dating a 20-year-old, which maybe they were pissed off about that. Who knows,
Live his life, man. Come on.
Yeah.
Like, listen, if I ever have the chance to talk to Coach Belichick, I will talk to him about two things. One, the 86 Giants, because that's the greatest team in my lifetime for me. And then I'll talk to him about lacrosse because I'm a big lacrosse guy. I coach lacrosse. My son plays in college. I want to talk to Coach about his time at Wesleyan playing lacrosse. So
that's what I've learned too, Ryan and Scott. I've learned over the years, if you can find those things that the athletes love to talk about that's not sports, like I'm now friends with Torey Lovello, the manager of the Arizona Diamondbacks, because I did my research. I found out his dad invented the TV show Hee Haw, which ages me. And you're older. His dad invented Hee Haw.
Roy Clark.
So Torey tells me these stories of having, Waylon Jennings and all of these country stars, Buck Owens and Johnny Cash at his 8-year-old birthday parties. And I'm just like, so he suddenly opens up and we're talking about something that's not baseball. And if you can get those guys to open up, you can have great conversations that don't have to have anything with controversy, and they appreciate that and they'll remember you for that. So, Ryan, you guys do a great job on this show. Ryan does a great job of storytelling. And if you can learn to do other things than the obvious, that means that they appreciate that you did that homework. I always try to do that one. Where did they go to college? Did they have a famous uncle? Did they have a brother or sister with a disability or something? Last year for Philadelphia, I brought up the Philadelphia's owner. He has a brother that really has special needs, and we talked about that, Lori, and he, after the interview, he said, "Thank you for bringing that up. Nobody ever brings up that topic." So it's like if you think outside that box, you're going to get great. So if you ever get Belichick and you talk lacrosse, you might be there for a half hour.
And that I heard from other people that have spoken to him. My son's coach was a professional lacrosse coach, and he had a chance to talk to Coach Belichick, and he said he'll talk about lacrosse all day. He loved it. His lights. He said, "I've never seen his eyes light up like that." And he's a Buffalo fan, so he's like, "Man, I had the opportunity to talk to him, and his eyes lit up when he was talking about lacrosse." So that's a great point. Like, you could get guys to talk about something they don't get to talk about on a daily basis. For sure, they're going to get that in. So we both agree that Belichick should have been in. He'll get in. Kraft will probably get in eventually, but I'm still angry. I mean, last year I can understand people not wanting Eli as a first ballot Hall of Famer. I'm biased. I think he was, but to me, it's absolutely ridiculous that he did not get in this year. Win-loss record means nothing to me because win-loss record is a team stat, right? But he's top 15 and because he's moved down in the last few years in every single passing category in the league. His toughness streak, 2 Super Bowl victories over arguably the greatest team of all time with that 18-1 Patriots team. I'm sorry, buddy. But I mean, that's monumental. That and those 2 wins in the Super Bowl should have been enough to get him in this time. I mean, the guy he wasn't flashy. He was a genuinely nice guy. He put up numbers. He had longevity. I don't know. He has better numbers than there some guys that are already in, and that really drives me nuts. And I know that
Scotty's in the shadows of his big brother. I mean, that's the kind of thing that he's always going to have. But yeah, to your point, like he's got to be in there next year. It'll be a good class. But then we're going to have some other names that are going to be thrown in there. That
Roethlisberger next year. Do you think he gets in first ballot? I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't
I
think
think they're going to look at the off the field stuff too.
they have to, even though
they'll
it's
judge them.
That's the off the field stuff bothers me because just like baseball, right? Baseball to me is the worst. They're the most pretentious people in the whole world. The guys who vote for the Baseball Hall of Fame, because Kurt Schilling should be in the Hall of Fame. Just because people don't like him doesn't mean he doesn't belong in the. Ty Cobb was one of the worst human beings alive.
Yeah.
Ever. And he's considered one of the greatest people ever, and he's in the Hall of Fame. So
Tommy John has 280 wins. Tommy John has 280 wins, and all they know is his
surgery after him. Right?
Yeah.
And there's so many guys that deserve to be in. Like, I don't know. That's another discussion for the offseason. But listen, Dave, I really want to thank you for getting up early this morning. If you didn't know, we had Dave on today. He's out in California. He's at the Super Bowl. Are you going to the game today?
I haven't decided. I have an opportunity, but like I said, the chaos of parking, the chaos of being inside, it's like I may just climb up in my bunk bed here and watch it on TV and just relax and, get some In-N-Out burgers or something. But no,
someday I hope I have the opportunity to get to a game, and hopefully it's the game I get to go to. My Giants are in it because we're not far off. They made the right hires. I like everything that Harbaugh is doing, changing the culture. That's a huge thing for me, right? I'm huge on the leadership thing on everything I do, and I feel like that was one of the huge problems the Giants had was leadership. No disrespect to Coach Dable because I loved Coach Dable, but he wasn't the right guy. I feel like he wanted to be everyone's friend instead of being the leader. And I think the culture changes now. I think the Giants are a couple players away from really competing. I'm not saying they're going to the Super Bowl next year. I'm not saying they're going in 2027. But we're coming. We're back, baby. I'm telling you right now. Giants are going to make some noise next year. That's a promise. I just feel like we're on the right track with these hires.
Oh, Dave, I got a couple of questions. One, it's been rumors that Max Crosby, AJ Brown are targets for the Patriots. And we got those two big targets, one a Raider, one a Seahawk right now. The Patriots win. You see AJ Brown, saying, you know what, it's time to leave. You promised me something. I'm going over to a winning team, right? And then on the other side, Max Crosby,
they did him dirty, by the way.
The
Raiders did him dirty.
Yeah, they did him dirty. I mean, that you look at Vrabel's lineup with his coaches, the staff, players, and everything else. We touched on it a little bit, building potentially another dynasty, around Drake May. What's your take on that and what this coaching staff in this organization and Kraft's goals moving forward looks like?
I think that's an excellent thought, just because they have some decent receivers. They just don't have those ones that are going to scare you. And Diggs hasn't had that breakout, but he could. And they really need to go and add, like they did, back in the day, go get a Randy Moss, go get somebody like that. And Brown has been so, I don't understand what's happened in Philadelphia. I really don't. I don't.
I mean, listen, there's a lot of problems that aren't getting talked about in Philly with all these coaches leaving. I think I've said this for years. I think Sirianni's the problem. That's just me. I didn't mean to hijack your conversation, guys, but you brought up Sirianni, I think, is a problem. I hate him with the fire of 1,000 suns. I think he's overrated. I think he just ride the coattails of great coordinators, but that's just me. I digress. You guys continue, please.
Well, I think it comes down to culture, right? And
that's it right there.
It comes down to culture. The climate is controlled by the ownership, and the coaching staff, their limitations based on the ownership. And I look at what Bravel's been doing. He is a 3-time Super Bowl champion with Tom Brady. Yep. Very familiar with Belichick's playbook, what wins games. It may not be the sexiest and flashiest way like the Broncos win, but versatile players like Drake May, he's got more wheels than Tom Brady ever had. And, he's effective in the pocket. He's effective with his legs. He serves as a true threat to these teams moving forward as he continues to hone his skills. I do think the one of the underdogs that's not really being talked about a lot, right? And it's not really, the trade of Harbaugh for, the New York Giants, moving forward next year. What does that clean house look like for that team and that franchise, coming up. He knows how to win. He knows who to put where, and I do think that, and this is a far prediction, I think we see a season battle, New York Giants, Patriots next year with Harbaugh. I combine the names, right? And Vrabel. I think we see a New York Giants Patriots season next year where the matchup, and the thing is with the Seahawks have been great this season. But again, it comes down to culture. There was a tight game against the Rams. They very easily could have lost that game. But the momentum that they had, and I think tonight we're going to see what that momentum is. The other thing a lot of people aren't talking about, and they may talk about it, at 1:00 when the pregame starts playing, is what Vrabel's done in the practicing leading up to the Super Bowl, right? Pulling the players off the field, playing Bad Bunny over the loud system, getting them mentally in the mindset of, listen, when you come off that field, you very easily can lose your momentum. And, that those small little mental triggers for elite players to win games, I think is not being talked about enough. And, him reaching out over the season to Brady, to Gronk, to Belichick, I would venture to say that Vrabel has Belichick's playbook, and he has been constantly in contact to win this Super Bowl. I don't think it's talked about enough. You got to look at the elite players that came before. They have a vested interest in their legacy and the dynasty for the Patriots. And you're seeing a lot of these star players that won multiple Super Bowls being a Patriot coming out and say, once a Patriot, always a Patriot.
Oh, that's our thing. Whoa. First of all, enough with the Patriots glazing on my show. All right, this is a Giant show. We will no more Patriots glazing on my show. Super Bowl, you could talk about it next week. But I will say one thing that you said: culture means everything.
Yeah.
I have said it before in the show. I took over a program at the local high school that was suffering tons of talent, zero culture, and immediately I went in, changed the culture. We went 14-2.
Yeah.
But the same kids. When the year before they only won 9 games, right? It's you can win games with talent, but you can't take that talent to the next level unless you have culture. Right? And I learned from some very good leaders. I learned from culture can be anything. It doesn't have to be sports, or it doesn't have to be from coaching. It could be at work, right? What your culture is in your office, or on the battlefield, or on the submarine where I was. Like, the leadership culture dictates the success of the people that work for you. And if you have that culture, your people will run through walls for you. I promise you. Yep. And that's what Vrabel is doing. And that is what I'm hoping that my New York Giants will do for Coach Harbaugh. So, Dave, I'll give some final thoughts before we say goodbye.
No, I just hope it's a great game. I'm pulling for Ryan's team, hopefully, to make him happy. I did run into Gronk this week. It was nice to see him again. And I saw Eli as well.
Yes.
He looked very disappointed, but at least he's a class act. And they're almost more famous than they were as players now that Eli and Peyton are in all these commercials and all the Manning cast. And
Eli was so funny, right?
He's not as funny as Peyton, but he's getting there.
That's great. Yeah. Well, listen, guys, if you're just tuning in or you're just tuning in late, we have Dave Stevens here live from the Super Bowl. Look him up. This guy is phenomenal. Ryan introduced me to you about a month ago, and I went and did my homework on you, and you've had a amazing life. And if you guys want to hear about Dave, I'd like to have you back on when it's not the Super Bowl, so we can talk about other things. So if you're willing to come back on, I'd love to have you on.
We can bash the Jets on the next show. Right?
Yes, I can't wait. And that's one reason I hope that Darnold wins, because it will make Jet fans so mad. My buddy is a huge Jet fan. He texted me right after the NFC Championship. He was like, "Man, if only the Jets had a guy like Sam Darnold." They took number 3 overall back then. So I know he's been on like 17 other teams since then. But listen, the Jets are going to jet. That's all I'm going to say. But we can definitely bash the Jets. I love it. It's so easy to do, too.
It's the one team in the NFL everybody bashes. Let's be real. That and potentially the Colts and the Broncos, right? And the Broncos, the Colts don't match up. They're called Broncos or they're called, I mean, it's one of those things in the NFL. Everybody's got the rivals, but, the Jets.
They're the doormat of the league. The butt of the joke.
Yeah, they are the feeder system to the NFL that all players go through sometimes to actually make it to, the big stage with actual NFL teams, not high school.
If utility was a sports team, it would be the Jets.
Exactly.
So, all right, guys. Thank you, Dave, so much. I greatly appreciate you for coming on and getting up early at 5 a.m. and coming on the show.
Hey, the sun's up now, so it's okay.
Right, there you go. Now you can start your day. If you go to the game, enjoy it. If you're going to sit there and get some In-N-Out burgers, enjoy that as well. Just enjoy the game. My rooting interests, it's not Philly. That's all I'm going to say. Go my parlay. That's what I'm saying. Anybody but Philadelphia. I'll be happy whoever wins because it ain't the Eagles. So everybody have a great Super Bowl Sunday. Please enjoy responsibly if you're going to partake in whatever your recreational choices. Please do it safely. Don't get on the road. Don't get behind the wheel. Please take an Uber or stay home, but have a great time. Enjoy the game. To my friends who are Seahawks fans, go Seahawks. To my friends who are Pats fans, go Pats. Especially my daughter. My daughter's my favorite Patriots fan. You're number 2, buddy. My daughter is my favorite Patriots fan. Getting that Drake May jersey in the mail the other day made me sick. But she's happy. She'll be happy if she's going to the parade tomorrow or whatever it is if they win, by the way.
Well, I just want to point out the fact that, today you did say that your team was the Patriots.
I accidentally said that.
And
Freudian slip.
And that
on tape too. I think you can loop that. Go get that and just loop it.
I hate you.
Just loop it in. And one thing I want
it's AI. I'm denying it.
I want fans to get final predictions. All right, speed round. What is your final prediction score and team coming out on top? We'll start with Dave, and then we'll go to Scott, and we'll wrap this up.
All right, I'll go with Seattle. High-scoring game, but I think Seattle's going to come on top. I want the Patriots to win, but I just think the matchups could go Seattle's way. But a Vrabel team, again, they've had 2 weeks to throw in these weird things. You might see a couple of gadget plays that you don't normally see again, just to shake those defenses up. So you start it one way, they see it that time, and they'll have to be prepared or again. So I'm going to go with Seattle.
All right. What do you got there, Scott?
I like the Patriots. I think you see a lot of jumbo sets from the Patriots offense today. They're going to try to run the football and wear down that phenomenal defense by the Seahawks. But I think it's going to come down to a couple plays here or there, maybe a big play on special teams. But I feel like they've been doing it all year, man, with smoke and mirrors. But I think it continues today. I think they win 27-24. However, my parlay says otherwise. I took the Seahawks and the points today. So either way, I'll be right or I'll be happy. So
yeah, I mean, obviously with the Patriots, being a Patriots fan, I'd love to see them win. My parlays reflect game usage more so than game wins. So regardless, I hope they just all play hard and all my parlays hit. So
I'm rooting for a great game, and I'm rooting for Bad Bunny. That's what I'm rooting for.
Bad Bunny. You can check him and Dave out at the Super Bowl halftime show. And, Dave, hand it over to Scott, wrap this up, and appreciate you jumping on so early in the morning.
All right, guys. It was great being with you. Thanks. It was fun. And now I got to go get some coffee.
Yeah, enjoy Cali weather, because back home, it's not Cali weather. I promise you.
You're going to have to stay out here another week. Yeah.
We got like another 6-8 inches last night, and then it's like 4 degrees outside right now. So enjoy that Cali weather while you can, sir. I don't know. It's probably not like 80 out there, but San Francisco.
It was 49 the other day. So
that's a heat wave right now here. So yeah, enjoy that. Enjoy your time. Safe travels back home.
Thanks,
when you
guys.
Get back home, let's have coffee together, the three of us.
All right. I will talk to you guys soon. And Ryan and I got a bunch of huge projects we're working on for Easter seals. So yeah, I'll be seeing you guys out on the TV land very soon.
Yes, sir. Okay. Thanks again, Dave, for joining us this morning. Thank you, TikTok world, and wherever you're watching Big Blue Confidential. I can't thank you enough. Enjoy the Super Bowl today. Please do it safely. Please do it responsibly. Go my parlay. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Go Pats.